It's I, Wacky Anime What If. Currently, I am doing the 500-episode special. It's What If Rimuru was sent to ReZero. I hope you guys enjoy. I, Wacky Anime What If, I'm going to present this to you. And, alright, let's get into it. So, Rimuru is currently constructing Tempest with all of his friends. He's currently constructing Tempest, and he has finished. Just finished. And he's about to go into a meeting with Gazelle, but all of a sudden he hears a voice in his head. And he hears a person on the floor bleeding out, gasping for help. And he sees a vision, and he doesn't know what the hell this is. But he just pops out of his mind and just walks into the room and starts talking to Gazelle. And he tells him how he's going to rule his kingdom. He's going to rule his kingdom by being fair, just, kind, and not being much as more of a ruler with an iron fist, but more of a kind ruler, one that will rule compassion. And Gazelle tells him, well, it seems like a very good ideal, but the thing that you're missing, though, is just you need to rule with an iron fist occasionally. And Rimuru says, oh no, I will, it's just on certain circumstances. I'm not going to be all aggressive or passive-aggressive on everyone. I want to make sure that everyone's my friends. I see them more as my friends than my actual people. Which Gazriel just says, well, it's your kingdom, I guess. And while they're talking, all of a sudden, Rimuru blinks once, blinks twice, and as soon as he blinks the third time, Great Sage speaks to him and says, you're currently being teleported somewhere. And he's like, wait, what? He opens his eyes, and he's already somewhere else. And he does not recognize this. He thinks he's still somewhere in that time I get reincarnated as a slime world. He's thinking he's somewhere there in his world. But he's looking around, he sees furry beasts, beastmen, he sees lizardmen, he sees all these other races. And he's like, oh, this is wonderful. Huh, I guess I was the only one that had peace with all monsters. And he says this out loud, which everyone looks at him, and they're really wondering what he means by monsters. Because they see other races every day. It's not really that, rare. But he's acting like it's the rarest thing in the world, and he has sparkles in his eyes. And they're just looking at him weird, because he shouted that out loud. And Rimuru just notices the crowd, and Great Sage says, like I said before, you're teleported to a different world. This is not the world that you were in previously. And then Rimuru just says, huh? He just starts screaming, huh? What is the meaning of this, Great Sage? What happened? And he starts saying this. Great Sage says, well, there was an influx of mana, and it managed to drag you all the way to this world. You were essentially pulled into this world by someone, or summoned. And Rimuru was just thinking, who had enough power to pull me, Rimuru Tempest, into this world? And he's just trying to find out what's happening. Like, how did he get pulled to this world? And then he just realizes he has to do some reconnaissance then, because he doesn't know a damn thing about this world. So he starts walking around trying to find out information. He goes into this one bar, and this guy just points towards the sign. Once he walks in, it says, no humans allowed. And Rimuru, who's in his human form currently, just, well, if you don't know his human form, it's this form, obviously. But anyway, he literally just says, but I'm not a human. And he's like, only demi-humans allowed. And he says, okay. And he just turns into a demi-human. Which it just turns into one in front of him. And they're like, what the fuck? Like, dude, the bartender drops his glasses like, what the fuck are you? The fuck are you? Everyone beat the shit out of this guy. And like everyone in that bar just ran out of the bar, started chasing him. And Rimuru started running, saying, I guess they don't like me. And he's like chuckling. He's running. And he decides, I'm gonna go ahead and hide right beside here. Because while he's running, he sees all these buildings. He decides to hide in one random one. He opens the curtain and closes it behind him. Everyone runs past him. And he says, whew, I'm perfectly fine. That was a close one. And then Great Sage says, bloodlust detected. And Rimuru's like, wait, where? Am I being attacked? By an enemy stat? And then before he could even say what he was about to say, the reference, he could hear growling behind him. He looks behind him and he sees demi-human females who were using the restroom or changing. And he says, oh, shit. And they start slapping the shit out of him. Like, he couldn't even run out. He tried to run out. And they just grabbed his leg and pulled him in, and they started slapping the shit out of him. Rimuru didn't really feel anything because pain nullification, but hey, he pretended to at least. So that they wouldn't, consistently continue. Or so that they wouldn't think anything's off. Yeah, so he walked out of there, and he was beaten and bruised. And he was like, well, I need to learn the language. And he looks at the sign, and Great Sage says, oh, I'll go ahead and translate this for you. And Rimuru says, you couldn't have told me where I was heading before I walked in there. And Great Sage was like, has a smug look. Like, Rimuru can imagine the smug look on Great Sage's face, and he said, the Great Sage just said, well, you didn't ask. And Rimuru was just like, facepalmed himself and said, just tell me before next time. And Great Sage was like, no promises. And Rimuru's like, what did you say? And Great Sage just changed its answer and was like, okay. And Great Sage is deciphering the language. He reads the sign again and it says, female demi-human restroom. And he's like, oh, well, you really should have just told me before. And he's just like really pissed off at Great Sage. And he's like walking away. He sees this apple stand. He walks up towards the guy in the apple stand. He says, hi there, can I buy an apple? And the apple stand guy says, alright, if you want to buy an apple, you gotta get 2 gildas. And Rimuru notices that gildas is the exact currency that he had in his previous world. Because some nations had gildas, which he ends up getting gildas as actual currency in Tempest sometimes. So he had some on him. So he paid for an apple, he got an apple, he bit into it, and all of a sudden, Great Sage just says, ability obtained. You can now summon apples. And Rimuru's like, this didn't happen before when I was eating apples in my world. And Great Sage just said, well, this is a different world. Also, I forgot to mention, majority of your skills were sealed. Either sealed or lost, since you were transferred to a different world. And Rimuru just says, what? And he starts screaming, what, so loud. Everyone just starts staring at him. And they're like, what? Why is this guy randomly screaming? Something wrong with that apple? And the apple stand guy's like, hey, you're ruining my business. Anything wrong with that apple? I can get you a replacement. And Rimuru was like, no, I was just shocked about something. And then he just walks away. He looks and sees an alleyway. And, well, he decides, I gotta go take a rest. Might as well go ahead and go sit over there. I mean, what's the worst thing that could happen? I'm just sitting. He just walks down the alleyway, sits down at the end of the alleyway, takes off his actual jacket for a moment, and, well, let's just go ahead and say, right when he about to take off his jacket, these 3 thugs walked down the alleyway and said, hey, girlie, it's not really, decent for you to take off your clothes, at least yet. And Bubblegum, I like to call the guy Bubblegum, pulled out his 2 swords and says, "Now give us all your money, and take off your clothes." And Rimuru is just like, "I'm a guy." And literally, Bubblegum's like, "No, you're not. I know that girly face, that girly voice. The fact that you do look like a female, and the fact that you talk like a female. Of course you're a girl." And then Rimuru says, "Alright, you asked for it." And then he just got in a fighting position, and all of a sudden he said, "Great Sage, let's show them some proof that I'm a guy," and beat their ass. And Great Sage says, "That's kind of sexist." And Rimuru says, I didn't mean it like that. I meant the way I usually combat people." And Great Sage was like, "Alright, that makes it a little bit better." And then Rimuru is just wondering what happened to Great Sage, because Great Sage is responding a lot more to him. And Great Sage says, "Would you like me to show them proof that you're a man?" And Rimuru said, "But I'm not actually a guy or female technically. I'm no gender." And Great Sage says, "Nope, actually, you do have a gender now if you desire." And Rimuru's like, you didn't tell me this previously." And he's like pouting now, and Great Sage says, "Activating it currently." And then all of a sudden, Bubblegum Guy's about to like lunge at him, and then he looks downwards and sees something popping out of Rimuru's pants, and he's just like fucking backs away. He's like, "Oh shit, it's a man!" And he starts running out of the alleyway. And like the huge buff guy that was with them, I'm gonna say the huge buff guy was with them instead of that huge fat ass motherfucker. Yeah, this huge buff guy that was with them, I'm gonna call him Shorty. Well, no, I'm gonna call him Mick Strong. They call him Mick Strong. And yeah, when he sees this, he's like, "Just my type." And he starts like punching his fists together. He starts walking up to Rimuru, and Rimuru's just looking in horror. And he says, "Great Sage, deactivate this, deactivate this." And Great Sage deactivates it. And Rimuru says, "Why would I want to do that in a fight?" And Great Sage says, I don't know what you do. I don't know what type of guy you are." And Rimuru just says, "Just shut up, Great Sage." And Great Sage says, "Affirmative." And Rimuru just runs up towards the big buff guy, punches him in the gut, grabs his head, and slams him against the wall on the side. And like immediately, the guy's knocked out. I'm gonna be honest, he was already knocked out by that one punch. But when he slammed him to the side, yeah, he's bleeding out of his head. And Rimuru's like, "Oh, I went too far." And the short guy who was near them just said, I'm not with these guys." And Rimuru's like, "Yeah, that ain't gonna fly with me." He just kicks the motherfucker like a football. And he goes flying out of the alleyway. And he bumps into Felt, that was trying to run down the alleyway. Bumps into Felt, and Felt drops the insignia. And she runs towards it, picks it up, after, getting up and getting the daze out of her eyes. Runs and picks it up, and Rimuru says, "Oh, sorry about that." And she runs by Rimuru, does some parkour, and Rimuru looks at her and is like, "Oh, that's very impressive for a kid." It says it out loud, and she says, "I'm not a kid." And while she's running. And that's when Amelia comes down the alleyway, and she noticed that Rimuru was conversing with Felt, the thief of her insignia. So she ends up pointing an actual magic towards him. And Raphael does not warn Rimuru about this because, well, Rimuru told Raphael to shut up. So, yeah, all of a sudden, Rimuru dodges to the side because he has danger sense. It was an ability he gained. And he's just like, "Raphael, why didn't you tell me about this icicle?" And he looks at the icicle in front of him. And Raphael said, "I'm sorry, but you told me to shut up, so I was doing your order." And Rimuru was like, "Just tell me when dangerous stuff happens. You don't know what? Just you can talk what you want." And Raphael just had this smug look. And Rimuru could imagine it. And he's like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna regret saying that." And he looks behind him and sees Amelia, who's still firing icicles at him. And Rimuru just eats one of them. Just completely, his arm he just lifts out his arm and just says "gluttony." and he just engulfs all the incoming icicles. There was like 7 of them. He engulfs all of them, and this is when Raphael says, well, not Raphael, Great Sage says, "You have now unlocked the ability to use icicles. You can shoot icicles out of your hands now, and you have ice magic." And Rimuru was like, "Cool, now I have ice magic." And he looks at Amelia and says, "Miss, why did you attack me?" And she says, "I attacked you because you're with the thief that stole my insignia." And then Rimuru just says, "No, no, 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 no. I'm not with whoever you're talking about." Wait, was it the girl that was doing parkour before, got up that building? And then Amelia looks at him and says, "Parkour? What is parkour?" And Rimuru just facepalms himself and says, "Oh, that term wasn't invented in this world, was it?" And Rimuru just says, "Well, parkour is doing acrobatics and jumping up buildings, or similar things like that." And Amelia says, "Oh, yeah, I assume it was." And Rimuru just says, "Alright, thing is, only reason why I was talking to him was because I kicked these thieves over here that you're currently stepping on one of them." Because Amelia didn't even notice that she was stepping on the Bubblegum's head. And she like moved her foot out of the way and said, "Oh, sorry, mister." And then Rimuru said, "No, those are thieves. Don't say sorry to thieves. They tried to rob me and do something else." And Amelia just like looked at him and said, "Okay, that checks out, I guess. But why are you talking to the thief that stole my insignia?" And then Rimuru just says, "Well, you see that short guy over there that is like out of the alleyway over there? That's on the ground still?" She looks backwards, sees this one short guy on the ground, like coughing from his mouth, saying, "That fucking hurt. He kicked me in the balls." And Rimuru said, "Oh, I did not mean to do that. I didn't notice." And Amelia can't help but laugh a little. And so did Puck. Puck came out just to laugh at that. And Rimuru just said, "Oh, is that a spirit? I actually seen a few of them around. Oh, I didn't see one that's in that peculiar form. A cat. That's adorable." And he like just appears in front of Puck and just like starts petting Puck. And Puck just looks at him, gives him the death glare. And then Great Sage says, "In warning, tons of bloodlust coming from Kitten." And Rimuru's like, "Oh my god, that is the deadliest kitten in the world." He like puts his hands away because he feels the bloodlust. And then Puck just starts bursting out laughing. And so did Amelia. When Amelia burst out laughing, Puck was still like pouting, says, "I'm not a kitten, my name's Puck." And Rimuru was like, "Okay, the kitten's name is Puck." And Puck just boinks Rimuru on the head. And Rimuru just says, "Hey, I actually felt that one." Because Puck somehow, his punches defy his pain nullification for that one moment of comedy. And Rimuru just looks at Amelia and says, "So, yeah, I kicked that short guy very far, and he hit the thief, and the thief dropped something, but I thought it was hers. So she grabbed it and rushed off." And then Amelia was like, "Oh, okay. So could you, by chance, tell me where she went?" And he was like, "Oh, she went up that building." And Amelia just sighed and said, "It's gonna take so long to find her. I need to get my insignia, or I can't go into the royal selection." And Rimuru just asked, "What's the royal selection exactly?" "You know what? Never mind. Seems very important to you. So, do you mind if I help you?" And Amelia said, I couldn't do such a thing. I mean, I don't really owe you don't really owe me anything." And Rimuru just says, "No, I just want to help some people that are in need. So, do you mind if I help you?" And Subaru was like, not Subaru, but Amelia was like, "Well, okay, I guess so. Alright, so where should we look anyway?" is what Rimuru says. And Amelia just says, alright, follow me. Grabs Rimuru's hand and starts dragging him around. And they're looking around the entire city of Laguna for about a few hours. And then Rimuru just asks Great Sage, can you just use your sense ability? Can I just use my sense ability to locate Felix? No, Felt. And the thing that happens is Great Sage says, yes, you actually can, instead of doing all of this. And as soon as Rimuru was about to just tell Amelia this, Amelia and Rimuru both see this one kid just crying her eyes out. And Rimuru sees this and runs up to the kid before Amelia can. And Rimuru just says, hey there, kid, what are you crying for? And the kid looks at Rimuru and just says, I'm crying because I can't find my parents, purity lady. And Rimuru just says, I'm not a girl, I'm a guy. And Amelia, who was like holding on to Rimuru's hand the entire time, dragging him places, just ended up saying, wait, so you're a guy? And Rimuru said, yeah, did you think I was a female? And Amelia said, yeah, that's why I was dragging you places. And holding your hand the whole time. And Rimuru just busted up laughing a little. Amelia blushed because she was holding a guy's hand the entire time and didn't know it. And Puck was laughing at Amelia because her face was about as bright as tomato. And hell, even the kid was laughing. And yeah, Super looked down at the kid and said, hey, wipe those tears away. We'll help find your parents for you. And then Super said, oh wait, do you want to see a magic trick to help you? And Super put his hands together, and ice magic started coming out of his hands. And the kid's eyes were like popping out of her head right now because she was like on cloud 9 because, well, no one really used magic much. Like, a lot of people didn't really have magic from where she was from. So she saw him like form a little swan, a ice swan. And then he says, so, do you want this swan? He puts it into the kid's hand, and the kid's like very happy and starts cherishing the swan, just like puts it to the kid's chest. And yeah, she starts hugging the swan, the ice swan. And Amelia is looking at Rimuru and says, wait, you know ice magic? And Rimuru says, oh, you know that actual dark hurricane thing that came out of my hand? It's a skill that I have called gluttony. And it can actually consume things, and I can actually get the ability of it. That's the gist of it. Or as much as I'm willing to tell currently. And, well, yeah. All that happened was, Amelia was like, that's an amazing ability, but it's called gluttony? I don't think you should tell that name to anyone else, really. Because they might end up thinking that you're related to the Witch of Gluttony. And Subaru's wanting to ask what this is, but he sees the child just, very worried and said, I'm gonna need you to tell me what that is after we get this child to her parents. And Amelia says, but how are we going to do that? The city's so big. And Rimuru says, well, I have a sense ability. I can basically sense where her parents are. All I really need is to see the child, and I can sense any of the relatives. This is a very good ability. Also, I was going to use that for the insignia when I remembered that I had it. And Amelia just looks at him and says, wait, you could have done this entire time, and I could have found my insignia like an hour ago. And Rimuru says, what do I say to make her calm down a little? And then Great Sage says, alright, say this. And starts whispering into Rimuru's ear. And Rimuru says, well, I just wanted to cherish that beautiful smile on your face. Just a little longer. Can you blame me? And Rimuru says this with a smile, and Amelia just turns into a whole tomato. Her face is turning into a tomato. That's how red she is. Like, steam is coming out of her. And, like, her actual hair is covering her face. So that Rimuru does not see that she's blushing like just a yandere would. And her eyes are kind of have heart symbols into her eyes, which Rimuru sees a little bit and freaks out. And Great Sage says, oh no, you've awakened a power in her that You did not want to know. It's a legendary power called the Yandere. And Rimuru just shudders, and then her eyes turn to normal. And Rimuru just says, "Alright, don't trigger the Yandere. Don't trigger the Yandere." And like he's just shuddering still. And Amelia just says, what's wrong, Rimuru?" And yeah, Puck noticed the eyes and was also shuddering. And, well, even the kid was. And they just ignore this. And Rimuru just picks up the kid, puts the kid on his shoulders, and starts walking with Amelia and Puck. And they end up going to find the kid's parents. And Rimuru just pops out a map in front of him, which Amelia can see a map displayed in front of him. And he just ends up saying, "Locate this kid's parents." He points to the kid and says, "Wait, I need a DNA sample." And just gets a little hair out of her actual head, because it makes it more accurate, and just places it in the map. And then it locates her parents. They walk all the way to the apple stand, and the female is talking to the apple guy. They see this female talking to the apple guy and saying, I can't find our daughter. We need to go look for her. Maybe she's with the knights," is what the man exclaims in a panicked voice. And Rimuru just walks in up towards them with the girl and says, "Oh no, she's right here. I found her." And he places her down towards her parents. And the kid, before leaving, hugs Rimuru very tightly. Rimuru just gives her a head pat. And the kid just runs up to her mom and dad. And the apple guy says thanks and hands him like 3 apples. And Rimuru catches all 3 apples in midair. And this impresses all of them, because Rimuru had really fast reflexes. And then Rimuru just puts the apples in his pocket, because he didn't want to, consume them with his slime abilities and put it in an inventory or something. Because this would kind of alarm people, because when he turned into a slime, flashback, when he turned into a slime, at one point, everyone looked at him and started panicking, trying to find out what the fuck that is. Some people started poking him with a stick. Some people started trying to kick the fucking slime, which was Rimuru, and just kicked him like a football away. End of flashback, and Rimuru does not want to go through that again, so he just puts it in his pocket. And he ends up saying, "Alright, so while I was, getting these apples, I already looked into the map, and come on, follow me, Amelia." And they end up going across to a bridge. They, time skip, about like 30 minutes later. They're at a bridge, and they're walking. The sun isn't setting down, the sun is still up. And they're walking into the slum area. And Rimuru just looks at this one man who's in front of this broken down house, and he says, "Do you know where I could sell some things?" And Amelia's about to ask where her insignia was to the man, but Rimuru already asks, "Do you know where we can sell some things?" And the man says, "Oh, you can sell some things at old man Rom's place." And Rimuru says, "Oh, thank you." And then he throws him 1 gilda, and says, "Here you go." And he gives him a tip. And the guy graciously grabs the coin and starts bowing down and thanking him a lot. And, well, Rimuru just says, "Oh, no need." And he lifts the man up. And the man says, "I can finally get medicine for my sick daughter. Thank you. I was in such despair until you came." And he's like starting to express all of his gratitude to him. And Amelia, seeing this, is starting to like Rimuru a lot more, because he's very kind. And then Rimuru says, "Wait, where's your sick daughter?" And right on cue when he says this, his very sick daughter gets up out of her bed and was opening the front door of the broken house. And Rimuru hears a creak and sees this one kid covered in bandages, coughing up a little bit of blood saying, "Dad, do I have enough for medicine now?" And she has a weak, raspy voice. And Rimuru sees this and says, "Oh, I have the perfect thing." And he just puts his hand in his pocket, and from his hand he forms out a bottle with liquid, a healing liquid. and he pulls it out of his pocket and says, "Here you go." And he walks up towards the female, towards the really sick girl, and opens the top of it and says, "Drink this, you'll feel better. It's medicine." And the girl grabs it and drinks the entire thing, and then all of a sudden this magic particles go around her, and she feels a lot better. Her wounds that were there and inflicted from scuffles when she was trying to find food and salvage for her and her father were completely healed, and all the bandages fell off, and she had flawless skin. It looked as if she's never really experienced any hardship anymore. And her eyes, which were full of despair, perked up and had sparkles in them. And her hair, which was very dirty, was completely cleaned, and it was completely pitch brown, but it's completely pitch black, jet black, and had some sparkle in it. And this little girl bowed down and said, "Thank you, mister." Bowed and said, "Thank you, mister." And the dad profusely ran up to Rimuru and started hugging the man and said, "Thank you. You helped my daughter." And he's crying into Rimuru's shoulder. And Rimuru says, It's nothing. I think anyone would have done the same." And the guy says, "Thank you, you kind soul." And Rimuru finally gets out of the hug after like 30 minutes and walks up to Amelia and says, "Sorry you had to see that. Anyway, let's go ahead and get back to the main mission." And Amelia looks at him with admiration now, because he did something that she wanted to do, but she knew she didn't have the ability to do so. And Puck looks at him and just gives a thumb up and says, "You are a true man, Rimuru." And Rimuru just gives him a thumbs up, and they go up to Ram's place in front of the bar, and they're about to open the door, but then all of a sudden, Wacky Anime What If descends from the sky and says, "This is where this What If ends. I hope everyone enjoyed, and stay tuned until part 2. I hope you guys enjoy the 500 sub special. And I'm sorry if it was too long, or too short. I can't really tell. Anyway, just if you just do a lot of likes and a lot of comments saying that you want this, and I'll continue it.